Imagine if all of your thoughts for an entire day were actually being broadcasted out loud to everyone around you, and everyone could hear them, and everywhere you go for that particular day could hear your thoughts. Well, you'd most probably be thrown in jail, as my dad would say, or you'd be reprimanded for being really, really judgmental, for starters. You'd be yelled at for making false assumptions. You'd be abused for having so many negative opinions. And yet, you'd probably have not made any of those decisions consciously. All of those thoughts would have come out of your subconscious mind, out of your subconscious programming. So now my question is to you guys is how aware are you of your thoughts throughout the day? Now this is really, really important because if you don't have control over your own mind and you're about to make a life changing decision, you could be making that decision based on some old programs that are still being run by your subconscious mind. So basically, you need to start becoming more conscious of what thoughts you're having that are beneficial, that are loving to you, and what thoughts you're having that could be very, very destructive to you in nature. So, what thoughts are going through your mind? Are you calling yourself a loser? Or are you saying, well done, try again next time? So what kind of thoughts are going through your head? Now, in science, science tells us that on average, we're having about 70,000 thoughts a day. So we're not even aware of most of them, obviously, or we'll probably go insane. So most of those thoughts that you're having, you could say, are more so happening to you than for you. They're happening out of your control because it's your subconscious programming that are having those thoughts based on all of your past experiences, on your personality, what you've learned along the way, your friends, family, your upbringing, your religion, what you believe in, what you don't. So this is the kind of stuff that's running your show in the background when you are not aware of your thoughts. So essentially, that all-powerful, you could call it a hard drive that's sitting between your ears, called the subconscious mind, is actually running the show. Now, I just want to read to you a quote from Joe Dispenza. And this quote from Joe Dispenza, I learned a long time ago, but it really makes sense to me. And it says, by the time we're 35 years old, 95% of who we are is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, and attitudes that function like a computer program. Okay, so that means that if we start to make life changing decisions based on our subconscious programming, at the very, very least, we'll most likely not aim very high at all, or at the very worst, we'll end up failing drastically. So ask yourself throughout the day, are your thoughts working for you or are they working against you? And to do that, again, you have to be aware of your thoughts. So I'm just going to tell you briefly my experience of allowing my subconscious programming to run my show because it sent me to the darkest night of my soul. And this happened several years ago. I left a fabulous full-time job here in Dubai. I was head of biology at the most beautiful school in the UAE. I was coordinating science for years 7, 8, and 9. I had a great job, lovely friends, and life was really, really good. But I wanted to start my own business in Australia. So off I went with my passion and my dreams and all my aspirations and my ideas, and I had this tunnel vision of how I was going to make it all work. But unfortunately, guys, not that I knew it at the time, I took all of my limiting beliefs from way before that. I took all of my emotional baggage, all of my past failures, all my doubts, all my fears, they all come along for the ride. And I knew they were there. I always knew there was a nagging voice in the back of my head that was saying, Marie, you're not going to pull this off. You're just not that smart. And I didn't listen to it. I didn't acknowledge it either. I just pushed it away, even though I'd read all of the books in the areas of change your life for years. I just wasn't putting any of it into practice for myself at the time. Okay, so I put all of my savings into it. I worked incredibly hard. I worked day and night. But my business idea, basically, it failed miserably. And I got to the point where I had 3 months left of savings in my bank account to pay my bills and put petrol in my car. And I tell you what, I've never been so stressed in all my life. I was, just to put it mildly, I was scared and I wasn't sleeping. And I knew my immune system was going down because I was starting to get sick, and I do not get sick. I take care of my health in a big way. And I just knew that this was destroying me from the inside out. And it was coming through on every single action I took, every single action I took, and every thought I had was just destructive. And why I couldn't get out of that subconscious programming, I don't know. At the time, I was on this just path of self-destruct, and I didn't ask for help. I didn't reach out. I just went into pure survival mode. So rather than asking for advice, finding ways to make this business profitable, I was unknowingly, at the time, I was listening to that voice in my head. And, it was that voice that was telling me, as if you can do this alone, Marie, you're an idiot. What were you thinking? Wasting all of this money. You had a fabulous job, you had an amazing career, and you give it all up to run your own business, and look what you got yourself into. You're not even smart enough to run your own business. You're a loser. Marie, you're a dreamer. And I swear, and it really gets me when I think I was so abusive to myself for so long. And, sorry guys. Okay, so I've done some crazy stuff in my life, and I like to think I've learned great lessons from them. And now I look back, I have. But back then, I was saying to myself, I was so stupid for trying something that was so outrageously huge. And I just went in unprepared for what emotional baggage can do to you. It can bring you down to your knees and destroy you. So, back to the real world, I listened to that voice in my head. Unfortunately, I listened to that voice in my head saying, you are just not good enough to do this. And it was the loudest voice in my head. And it was all made of my limiting beliefs, my subconscious programming. It was running my thoughts, my emotions, and my life. So I ran back to what I knew. I ran back to my comfort zone. I got the first science job teaching back here in Dubai as soon as I could. And if I couldn't have got a flight here, I would have got on a boat and I would have started rowing. I was wanting to come back to my comfort zone so bad. I could taste it. And, I arrived back here, and for a while, I was so relieved. I just felt good. I just felt good. I didn't even think about the disaster. I didn't think about why or how. I didn't analyze it or anything. For a while, I just felt really good being back in my comfort zone, being back in a full-time salary. But, crazy thing is that I'm done for the, I'm done to, I'm built in the way that I want to find my genius. And that's another video, but everyone has a genius within them. And I knew that, and I know it now. But knowing that now, and thankfully now I meditate every single day. I'm aware of my thoughts as often as I possibly can be. And they are game changers. Being aware of your thoughts and meditating every day are life changers, and I strongly advise them so that you don't have to go through what I went through. So it took 3 months, and I was back to saying in my own mind, I really want to work for myself. What if I could pull it off this time? What if I could do it differently? So I went back and I analyzed what I did wrong when I failed so miserably years ago. And it was so obvious. It was so obvious what I'd done wrong. It was so obvious that I actually could have made it all work. I could have made it work. But I was on self destruct mode and, no regrets. But when I look back and I analyze it, it was all about my state of being. It was all about my state of mind. And that's what took me under. So I knew when I got back, 3 months later, I was back into entrepreneur mode and wanted to make this work. And this time I was going to do it so differently. I signed up with Deepak Chopra, the guru of meditation, and I took every course of his. I flew to Canada and I did a wonderful course there. I became a meditation teacher. I taught what I knew to every student who wanted to learn meditation. And it was then I made that choice, like right there and then, that I was never going to go through that again. And I was going to teach every person I came across that, you don't have to go through this, the horror of the subconscious programming, the horror of the emotional baggage, and all of those limiting beliefs that you can take with you into the unknown. So now I'd already been following incredible leaders that taught the wisdom and the science of how to change your life for years, long before even I tried to start that business. I knew that theory inside out even before all of that disaster happened. I just didn't apply it to my life. So, why hadn't I applied it to my life? Why hadn't I applied it when I was being challenged by a failing business? Well, when I was in that survival mode, that all those years ago, my body at the time was so filled full of adrenaline. Now, I can analyze it now quite easily and smile about it. But I was so filled full of adrenaline, so filled full of fear and anxiety and worry. Any scientist can tell you straight away that there is no way you ever have access to creativity when you're in survival mode. When you've got adrenaline pumping through your body and basically your brain thinks it's under threat, you're in survival mode, you're in fight flight, there is no creativity going on ever. So where was my inspiration? Where was my passion? Where was my excitement? Where was my ideas? They were long gone. When our brain believes it's under threat, all of those old neural networks, they fire and wire in the brain, and they will do everything in their power to bring you back to your comfort zone, back to what you know. So I strongly advise with my heart and my soul, and I hope to teach this in live webinars at some stage, because I certainly know the theory inside out and I've had the experience firsthand. But just for now, for this short video, I strongly advise you to do two things in your life every single day from here on. And that is, number one, be aware of your thoughts. Are they loving to you or are they destructive? And when you start to become the observer of your thoughts as often as you possibly can, you'll be quite amazed at the absolute rubbish that goes through your head. You'll laugh at yourself, especially when you're in that relaxed mode and you'll hear yourself making these ridiculous judgments and opinions and negative comments in your mind that are just completely destructive to you and to the people around you. And number two, I strongly advise you to find that quiet space in your day every single day, even if it's for 10 minutes. Take time out, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, clear up some space in that busy mind of yours. Go from that crazy, erratic, high beta brainwave patterns um, into that beautiful creative state, into alpha brainwave patterns. And when you do this, you will, without a doubt, if you practice for long enough, if you're resilient, got a little bit of um, go for it in you, then keep on going with the meditations every single day, and you will find that essentially a portal opens. And this portal opens into your own creativity, and that's when you just seem to lose track of time. And as I said to one of the guys on our course with London Real, Liam, he's an artist, and I was only posting this morning that I'm sure as an artist, you would know all too well what it feels like to be in this beautiful creative space, you know, when someone is in their state of creativity, when Liam is painting, then I have no doubt that he loses all time and space and goes into this beautiful creative mode where there is no time, where there are no thoughts, and all of that beauty from inside goes onto a canvas. I have no doubts. And this is where the most beautiful song lyrics are written, in this creativity zone in alpha brainwave patterns. This is where best-selling authors write their books, in this mode of creativity. And how do they get there? Now, they may not ever have meditated officially in their life, but what they will have done is they'll have gone into their creative space, and somehow they will have got into a state where the thoughts started to dim down, and a portal opens and the creativity starts to expand. So be aware of your thoughts as often as possible. And two, take time out to get into what I call your rehearsal room. I'll see you in the next video.